Hi folks, my name is Greg McLawson. I am the Affidavit of Support lawyer. My practice focuses on representing clients in federal lawsuits to enforce the USCIS Form I-864 Affidavit of Support. And I wanted to talk about the I-134 Affidavit of Support that is being used in the Uniting with Ukraine program. I want folks to understand that the I-134 is not the enforceable version of the Affidavit of Support, and you shouldn't be reluctant to enter the United with Ukraine program over concerns that the affidavit is going to be enforced against you as a contract. So let's distinguish between those two forms. The I-864 Affidavit of Support is used in family-sponsored immigration cases. It's been required since 1996, and anytime you have somebody bringing over a spouse, fiance, child, daughter, parent, the I-864 form is a mandatory part of the process. It's a binding contract between the sponsor and the United States government, and the sponsor promises to provide financial support to the intending immigrant and also to repay the government for the cost of any public benefits that are provided to the immigrant. That contract, the I-864, can be enforced in federal court. It is. That's what my practice focuses on. And so you got to be really careful about entering into that agreement with the government. You want to do that only when you're absolutely sure that you want to be involved in the sponsorship process. Uniting with Ukraine does not rely on that binding financial support contract. Instead, the document that's used for Uniting with Ukraine is the I-134 Affidavit of Support. That document is not a binding contract, and it is not enforceable against the person who signs it. In fact, the whole reason that the binding Affidavit of Support contract now exists under immigration law is that Congress became frustrated with the fact that this old form of the affidavit, the I-134, wasn't enforceable. So in 1996, Congress said, well, for family-sponsored cases, we are frustrated that the I-134 has been found to be unenforceable, and we are going to create an enforceable version of that form to be used in family-sponsored cases so that the sponsor can be held contractually liable to their responsibilities. But that older form of the document, the I-134, is still used in other types of immigration cases other than family sponsorship. And that's what's being used in Uniting with Ukraine. Unlike the I-864, which imposes very specific obligations on the sponsor, that's the financial sponsorship component and repaying public benefits, on the I-134 form, the sponsor writes in the type of support that they are going to be providing to the immigrant. So I'm just reading off the website here for the instructions specific to Uniting with Ukraine. The sponsor could, for example, receive the beneficiary upon arriving in the United States and transport them to their initial housing, could help them get safe and appropriate housing, can help get them access to health care, can help provide access to education. All of these are, of course, fantastic things, but not enforceable components of the agreement. So if a sponsor signs up for Uniting with Ukraine and isn't able to get the person into appropriate English language education, the sponsor can't be sued for not having done that. Likewise, you don't have to be worried as somebody signing up for Uniting with Ukraine that if the parolee, that is the person from Ukraine, if the parolee takes public benefits, the sponsor can't be sued for the cost of those benefits. So I'm not saying for a moment that you shouldn't sign up for this program without being serious about contributing to it. And I think most people who are interested in signing up are doing so with great intentions. But what you don't need to be worried about is serious downside risks in terms of being sued by the government or being sued by the parolee, by the person benefiting from the program. That liability simply does not exist under the Form I-134. Because again, the I-134, not an enforceable contract. The enforceable version of that contract, the I-864 form, is not used in uniting with Ukraine. So I hope this is helpful in setting aside some concerns folks have. If you have additional follow-up comments, feel free to reach me in the comment section, or you can also submit a question on our website, soundimmigration.com.